to the child.
On the day she was supposed to become a queen, the girl they left for dead walked back into the village alive. This story is going to teach you the danger of jealousy, how comparison destroys even the strongest of friendship, and how truth, no matter how buried, will always find its way back. Hey besties, before we dive into this amazing story, kindly ensure that you've pressed the subscribe button and the like button so that YouTube can suggest this video to as many people as possible. Now grab your drink. Let's dive into the story. In the heart of a fertile land, surrounded by palm trees and red earth that glowed under the sun, lay a village known as Olokun. Olokun was not just any village. It was a place where stories live longer than people, where elders said the wind carried secrets, and where destiny often arrived quietly, like shadow at dusk. One night, when the moon shone brighter than it had been many seasons, two cries pierced the silence of the village. Two girls were born, one in a hut of a humble weaver named Adana, and the other in a compound of a respected palm wine tapper named Eze. The villagers would later say it was no coincidence, because the moment they opened their eyes, something about them felt connected. The first one was named Zainabu, and the second one was named Amara. As children, Zainabu and Amara were inseparable. If one laughed, the other one laughed louder, and if one cried, the other one cried even louder. They walked barefoot through the dusty path, chased butterflies in the field, and bathed together at the river banks where the water reflected their small faces, joyful as always. People in Olokun began to notice them. "Look at those two," women would whisper. "They look like twins, born of different mothers." They shared everything: food, clothes, secrets, even dreams. At night, under the flickering glow of lamp oil, they would lie side by side and speak about the future. "I will marry a great man," Amara would say, with a giggle. "And I will live beside you," Zainabu would reply, holding her hand tightly. They promised each other something sacred. "No matter what happens, we will never leave each other." For many years, they kept that promise. Time, however, has a way of revealing what childhood hides. As they grew into young women, Olokun began to see them differently. They were no longer just children running through the field. They had become beautiful, but not equally. Amara blossomed like a rare flower touched by the gods. Her skin glowed like polished bronze under the sun. Her eyes held a softness that made people feel at peace. Her smile could calm a storm. When she walked through the village, conversations paused. Men turned their heads. Women watched in silence, and even elders nodded slowly as though acknowledging something divine. Zainab was beautiful too, very beautiful, but next to Amara, she faded. At first, she did not notice, and then she noticed everything. It started with small things. Men who once greeted them both now greeted Amara first. Visitors brought gifts, but only for Amara. Young men lingered around their compound, pretending to fetch water or fix sandals just to catch a glimpse of her. And each time it happened, Zainabu would smile, but inside her, something unfamiliar began to grow. A quiet heat, a whispering voice. "Why not you?" One evening, as they sat beside the river, Amara spoke softly. "Zainabu, do you think we will always stay like this?" Zainabu turned to her, forcing a smile. "Like what?" "Together, always together." Zainabu looked at her friend, the same friend she had loved since childhood, and for a brief moment she felt nothing but love. And then she remembered the stares, the whispers, the way people said Amara's name with admiration. And for her, with silence, she looked away. Of course, she said quietly, but for the first time, she lied. News came one morning that shook the entire village. A prince from a neighboring kingdom was visiting Olokun. His name was Prince Adawale. He was known for many things: wealth, bravery, and a heart that refused every woman presented to him. Until now, the entire village prepared for his arrival. Women adorned themselves, fathers rehearsed introductions, young maidens whispered hopes into the wind. Zainabu and Amara stood among them. But destiny had already made its choice. The moment Prince Adawale saw Amara, he stopped walking. Everything else disappeared. The drums, the voices, the movement of the crown. There was only her. And in that moment, Zainabu felt it. That quiet fire inside her turned into a burning flame. Within days, the prince made his intentions known. He did not hesitate. He did not consider others. I have found the one, he declared before the elders, and her name is Amara. The village erupted in total celebration. Songs filled the air, women danced, men praised the gods, and Amara was overwhelmed. Zainabu stood beside her smiling, clapping, celebrating, but inside her something broke. That night, while Amara slept peacefully, dreaming of her future, Zainabu sat outside under the sky, hands clenched tightly, her breath shallow. They took you from me, she whispered. First, the people, now, even destiny. Tears rolled down her cheeks, but they were not tears of sadness anymore. They were tears of something far more dangerous: jealousy. When fed in silence, becomes something else, something darker. Zainabu began to change, slowly, quietly. No one noticed, except the girls she began to spend time with. The girls who had already been overlooked, ignored, and forgotten by the villagers. Late one evening, deep inside the forest, where the trees stood silent like witnesses, Zainabu spoke to them. I need your help. The wind seemed to pause. What do you want us to do? One of them asked. Zainabu's voice dropped. On the night of the wedding, just a day before, she looked up. Her eyes were no longer soft. We take her. The night before the wedding was filled with joy. Songs echo across Olokun. Drums beat excited like hearts. Amara was supposed to be surrounded by women. Just not her, but also Zainabu. Her body adorned with beads, oil, her laughter light and pure. She trusted everyone, especially Zainabu. Later that night, as the celebration faded, the village slept. Shadows moved, footsteps crept through the darkness, and before Amara could even scream, a cloth covered her mouth. Her body was lifted and carried deep into the forest. Her last conscious thought was simple: Zainabu will come for me. But Zainabu was the one leading them. Deep inside the forest, far from the paths known to villagers, they tied Amara to a tree. Her eyes were wide with fear. Tears streamed down her face. Zainabu, she whispered weakly. For a moment, Zainabu hesitated. The past flashed before her: the laughter, the promises, the love. But then she hardened. You were never meant to have everything, she said coldly. And with that, she turned her back, leaving Amara alone to die. But the forest does not always obey human cruelty. At dawn, a hunter named Obina passed through that part of the forest. He was a quiet man, known more for his action than his words. And when he heard a faint cry, he followed it. And there she was, weak, tired, barely breathing. He rushed to her, cutting the ropes. "Who did this to you?" he asked. Amara's lips trembled, but no words came out. She collapsed into his arm, and in that moment, fate changed its course. When Amara opened her eyes again, the world felt distance. Sound of rustling leaves, the faint crackling of fire, and the scent of herbs she could not recognize. She was no longer in the forest. She lay on a warm mat inside a hut made of mud and bamboo, sunlight filtering gently through the cracks in the wall, casting soft pattern across her face. Beside her sat the hunter, Obina. He watched her carefully, as though afraid she might disappear if he blinked. "You are safe," he said quietly. Amara tried to speak, but no words came out. Her throat felt tight, her voice gone. Tears gathered in her eyes. Obina leaned closer. "Do not force it. Your body is still weak." Days passed, then weeks. Amara regained her strength, but not her voice. She could hear, she could understand, she could feel, but could not speak. And in that silence, her pain grew louder. Back in Olokun, the village mourned. At first, when Amara's disappearance was discovered, panic spread like wildfire. Search parties were formed, drums of alarm echoed through the land. The prince himself led men into the forest, but they found nothing. No footprint, no body, no sign, only silence. Days turned into weeks, and slowly hope died. "She is gone," the elders concluded. "She has been taken by the forest spirit." The villagers accepted it, everyone except Prince Adawale. But even a prince cannot fight what he cannot see, and grief has a way of weakening even the strongest hearts. Zainabu was always there, soft spoken, supportive, and present. "I know your pain," she would tell him gently. "I miss her too." And slowly, she filled the empty space Amara left behind, not with love, but with promiscuity. Until one evening, under a quiet sigh, the prince spoke the word that will seal their fate. "I cannot remain in sorrow forever," he said. "The kingdom needs a queen." Zainabu lowered her eyes. "My prince, I will stand by you." And just like that, a wedding was arranged. Far away from Olokun, Amara lived in silence. Obina cared for her, and not out of obligation, but something deeper: respect, compassion, and perhaps something he himself did not yet understand. He never asked too many questions, but he knew whoever had done this to her was not a stranger. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in gold and crimson, Amara sat outside, staring into the distance. Her fingers traced pattern in the sand, over and over again. One name, Zainabu. Obina saw it. He frowned. "Is that who did this to you?" Amara froze. Her body trembled, and then slowly she nodded. Obina's jaw tightened. "Then they will answer for it." Months had passed. Olokun was alive again, decorated, excited, preparing for a new wedding. Zainabu stood before a mirror, adorned in beads and fine cloth. Her beauty had begun to be enhanced, polished, and elevated. But her eyes, they had changed. No longer soft, no longer warm. There was something restless behind them, something afraid, because deep down she knew truth does not die, it waits. The wedding day arrived like a festival. Drums thundered, voices sang. The entire village gathered to witness the union of Prince Adawale and Zainabu. The air was thick with celebration, but beneath it, something else lingered. As Zainabu walked forward, every step felt heavier. Her heart pounded, her breath shallow. It is over, she told herself. No one knows. The prince stood waiting, calm, regal, and distant. The ceremony began. The elders raised his staff. If anyone knows a reason why this union should not stop, the voice cut through the air like a lightning. The entire village froze, heads turned, and there, standing at the edge of the crowd, was a figure no one expected to see again. Gas filled the air. Some stepped back in fear. Others whispered in belief. Cannot, no, this can't happen. But, but is that Amara? Yes, it was her. Weaker, thinner, but alive. And beside her stood Obina. Zainabu's word shattered in that moment. Her knees weakened, her vision blurred. No, she whispered. This is not possible. Prince Adawale stepped forward slowly. His eyes locked onto Amara. Emotions flooded his face. Shock, relief, disbelief. Amara! She tried to speak, but again, no sound came out. The crowd murmured, confused, uncertain. Then Obina stepped forward, his voice steady. She cannot speak, he said, but I will speak for her. The entire village fell silent. Obina told everything, how he found her tied in the forest, how she had been left for dead, and how she had suffered. And then he pointed straight at Zainabu. She was not taken by the spirit, he said. She was betrayed. The word echoed, betrayed. Zainabu shook her head violently. No, he lies. But her voice trembled. Her body betrayed her. Obina continued. She wrote the name herself, again and again. He turned to Amara. Show them. With trembling hands, Amara knelt and traced it in the dust. Zainabu. The crowd erupted. Shock, anger, disbelief. The elders rose to their feet. Prince Adawale stepped back slowly, his face darkening with realization. Tell me this is not true, he said quietly. Zainabu opened her mouth, but no lie could save her now, because truth was standing right in front of everyone, alive. Zainabu collapsed. Tears streamed down her face. I didn't mean to kill her, she cried. I just, I just wanted, her voice break, to be seen. Silence followed, heavy and forgiving. The elder stepped forward. You allowed jealousy to poison your heart, he said. You turned love into hatred. You betrayed not just your friend, but yourself. And in Olokun, justice was not taken lightly. Zainabu was not killed. Death would have been too easy. Instead, she was banished, stripped of title, honor, and belonging, condemned to wander beyond the lands of Olokun, carrying the weight of her actions. As she was led away, Amara looked back at she looked back at Amara, hoping, begging for forgiveness. Amara looked at her, and for a moment there was sad sadness and silence, but no words, because some wounds do not heal with words. Prince Adawale approached Amara slowly, his voice soft. I failed you. Amara shook her head gently. No, no anger, no blame, only quiet strength. In time, she regained her voice. But even before that, Her presence spoke louder than words ever could. She and the prince later reunited, not in a haste, but in truth. And she became a queen, not because of her beauty, but because of her heart. This story teaches us something so powerful, besties. Jealousy is a silent destroyer. It does not shout, it whispers. It turns love into competition. It turns friendship into rivalry. And because you realize it, it has destroyed you once and everything else that you ever cherished. Zainabu had beauty, she had friendship, she had love, but instead of appreciating what she had, she compared herself and she compared everything they were doing together. She allowed jealousy that gave birth to everything that led to the betrayal. And once jealousy is given birth to, it can easily give birth to betrayal before you even realize it. Never measure your worth by someone else's light, because when you try to dim another person's light, you end up living in darkness yourself. And remember this: truth may be delayed, but it is never denied. Until next time, besties, bye.